Every 12 minutes, a man dies by suicide in the United States. That's 105 men every single day. Fathers, brothers, sons, whose pain went unheard. Our men are in crisis, and many are suffering in silence. My name is Linda Falasco, and I am a grief and trauma therapist. While this is my life's work, the weight of this crisis has been especially heavy on my heart this week. I just learned of another suicide of a young veteran male who helped so many of his fellow vets with their mental health issues and transitioning back to civilian life. And sadly, this week, he left a message on social media that read, "I am sorry. I tried my best. Please find it in your heart to help my family." And there were over 100 comments of people saying, "Please call me," leaving their number. "I'm calling you right now. Please pick up. I'm here for you. Please reach out. You've always been there for us. We are here for you." More and more messages like that. Again, it broke my heart. What happened? We need to understand about mental illness. And the truth about mental illness is that it doesn't discriminate. When a brain is warped in despair, when it's overwhelmed by pain, when it starts to believe the lies in its head of, "You're not enough. You're a burden. You're a failure. You're too much for people. Life's too much." It can't always see the truth. So I want you just for a second to imagine standing in a funhouse of mirrors. I don't know if you ever went through one as a kid at carnival or circus, and you're going through and you know the mirrors are distorted, but they still show a version of you that feels real. That's what it's like for someone in the depths of mental illness, with someone who's stuck in their brain with all this pain. The reality is warped, and they can't always find their way out. And this isn't just a topic for mental health professionals. This is a public health crisis that affects every single one of us. This is a topic that we all need to be aware of, and we all need to speak on. Men account for 80% of all suicide deaths. They die by suicide at rates 4 times higher than women. Men over the age of 85 have the highest suicide rates. Suicide is the second leading cause of death among men ages 10 to 34. And non-Hispanic white men, along with American Indian and Alaskan Native men, face even higher rates than others. And for some men, especially our veterans, this silence becomes a battlefield of its own. Every day, nearly 18 veterans die by suicide. That's more than 6,000 lives a year lost, and not in combat, but in quiet despair. Most never told anyone how much they were hurting. These are our brothers, fathers, and our sons. They protected us. Now I think it's time that we protect them by listening, by asking, and by showing up. Why is this happening? I think it's important for us to understand there's no single reason. Suicide is deeply complex, but there are risk factors and there are warning signs that we can learn and can use them to save lives. So what are some of those risk factors? Personal history of suicide attempts. Being male, white, Native, Alaskan American, a history of trauma or abuse, mental health conditions such as anxiety, depression, or bipolar disorder, medical illness or chronic pain, traumatic brain injuries, including concussions, alcohol or drug use, even without abuse, just using. Relationship risk factors to look for: social isolation, lack of connection, loss of a loved one recently, a divorce or separation, family history of suicide. And I just want to share another situation that happened, I guess a month ago. It was while I was on vacation. It happened there. And I heard about it when I came home. Again, it just broke my heart. A male who recently was divorced, who recently lost their job, and who was isolated. So a lot of times we don't put these dots together, and we don't understand how hard it is for our men to talk and let us know what's going on. So we need to understand some of these warning signs and risk factors. Some other risk factors that we can look for are within our community and society are access to firearms or lethal means, stigma around seeking help, barriers to care, meaning they don't have easy access to get the care they need. If there's been media portrayal or suicide clusters, financial instability, cultural attitudes about mental health. Also, we need to look at the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. That is playing a big role in suicide rates right now. Unlike risk factors, warning signs are the flashing red lights. They tell us something is actively wrong. So, what are some of them? Talking about wanting to die. Now, this could be very subtle, so it's hard to sometimes know, but we need to then ask some questions. You might hear them say, I'd be better off dead, or, you know what, I have a lot of life insurance and my family will be taken care of. Sometimes we need to read in between the lines, and we need to pay attention to that along with some of the other risk factors and warning signs. Searching for means, for example, pills or guns, expressing hopelessness, rage, impulsiveness, or agitation, increased use of alcohol or drugs. And when I say that, doesn't mean that they're going over the top. They may have never really used, and now you see them kind of drinking a little bit more or using some substance that they've never used before. Withdrawing from people and activities, dramatic mood shifts. I think it's important that we understand what is going on with our men. For women, it's easy for us to talk about grief and loss and pain and what's going on in our lives. Even though some of these may be still a little taboo, it's easier for women to talk. But we're not talking enough about men who are crying in the shower so that no one will hear them. Men who pull it all together at the funeral to stay and be strong for everybody else. Men who go back to work the very next day because it's what's expected of them. Men who grieve in silence. So why is it so hard for men to ask for help, for men to talk about their feelings? Maybe because they're told that they shouldn't need to talk about it, because being vulnerable has always been treated like a flaw instead of a strength. They're expected to be our providers. They're expected to be the protectors, the strong ones. Many grow up being told that crying is weak, emotions are shameful, and vulnerability is dangerous. Man up, get over it, toughen up. They're taught to suffer in silence, and so they do. Some numb their pain with alcohol. Others isolate. Some get angry because anger was the only acceptable emotion that they were ever allowed to show. And too many die by suicide. Veterans especially carry a heavy burden. They've seen things that most of us will never understand. And thank goodness, we'll never see. They're trained to survive, to push through, to never let their guard down. But when the emotions come, grief, trauma, guilt, loss, anxiety, they're still told to be tough. And yet, 17 to 22 veterans die by suicide every day in the United States. They deserve better. All men do. Men grieve too. They feel deeply. They love hard. And they hurt just like anyone else. Grief, anxiety, sadness, they are not weaknesses. They are just emotions that we all experience. Tears are not shameful. Talking about it doesn't make you less of a man. It makes you human. If you're a man who's struggling, who's grieving, who's hurting in any way, you don't have to do it alone. And if you know of a man who's grieving, hurting, struggling, Emotionally, don't wait for him to ask for help. Show up, check in on him, sit with him, ask hard questions. It's time that we make space for our men. Let them mourn, let them feel, let them express their feelings out loud, unapologetically, and without shame, because men have feelings too. Women, please hear me. It is our job to understand this so much better. I know I've worked with people, and both men and women really do struggle if their man is struggling, meaning they have a hard time understanding that that's okay. And I've heard it where they think, what's going on? They should be stronger. They should be able to deal with this. Emotions are emotions. So there's a lot of stereotypes and stigma out there, and we need to break that. We need to understand that we are all human, and men have emotions and experience this pain too, just like we do. And we need to do better. Their pain matters. We're losing too many men. Our men are silently hurting. Our boys are quietly fading. So maybe we need to pause and ask, how do I view mental illness? How do I view anxiety, depression, grief, pain, emotions? Do I still associate depression or anxiety with failure? These are tough questions that we need to really sit and ponder on. Until we change how we think about things and how we talk about mental health, especially among men, we will keep losing them. We will keep losing them. We need open, honest conversations. I just got off the phone with my mom a little bit ago, and I was talking about this and men's mental health. And she shared with me, my brother, for those who don't know, I lost my brother almost 31 years ago to suicide, that apparently the night that he passed, he was calling people. He was trying to reach out to his friends, and nobody had time. Nobody had time. People either didn't answer his calls, didn't call him back, were just like not there. And what my mom said is that if I knew that he had this deep pain, I would have done more. We all would have done more. We need to normalize seeking help. We need to remind our men that they are not alone. They are not a burden. Men, you are needed. You are loved. There is help and there is hope.